Once upon a time, in the old days, there lived a farmer named Yunus in a village. He had been married for many years, but he had no children. After 15 years, a son was born to them. The farmer and his wife were overjoyed. People from all around came to congratulate them. That morning, an old beggar appeared in front of the farmer's house. The elderly dervish asked for alms. Since there was a joyful atmosphere in the farmer's home that day, he invited the dervish inside and offered him a place to sit. After the dervish sat down, the farmer said to him, "Baba Ji, a child has been born in our home after many years. Please, would you give him a name?" When the old dervish took the baby in his arms, he noticed a special mark on the child's arm. The old dervish smiled slightly and said, "My boy, your son will one day become a caliph. At the age of 16, he will marry the daughter of the caliph's wife of this state, that is the princess, and after that, he will become the caliph of this state." Hearing the old dervish's words, Yunus was overjoyed. When the villagers learned that Yunus's son would one day become the caliph, everyone started coming to see him. One day, while hunting deer, the caliph of that state wandered deep into the forest, but he could not catch the deer. Chasing after it, the caliph became exhausted. But he could not spot any river or pond nearby from which he could drink water. The caliph wandered around the forest for a long time. While searching for water, he eventually arrived at that village. There, where Yunus lived, the caliph's eyes fell upon an old dervish. The caliph asked the dervish for some water. The old dervish told him to wait and went inside his hut to fetch water. Bringing the water, he handed it to the caliph. After drinking the water, the caliph noticed that many people were gathering outside in one direction. He asked the dervish about those people. The dervish replied, "They are all going to Yunus's house because a very fortunate child has been born there, and an old dervish has made a prophecy about him." The caliph, surprised, asked, "Father, what kind of prophecy has been made that everyone is going there for it?" The dervish said, "People are going there because the old dervish has said that when Yunus's son turns 16, he will get married to the daughter of the caliph of Area 7, and that boy will become the next caliph of this realm." Hearing this, the caliph became very angry. He said, "How can the son of an ordinary farmer marry my daughter?" The caliph said to the dervish, "Baba Ji, I am the caliph of this realm, and do you really think I would marry my daughter to the son of a poor farmer?" The old man calmly replied, "Son, no one can erase what is written in someone's destiny." But the caliph was very proud of his power and authority. Angrily he said, "Babaji, I will show you. I can erase what is written in destiny." The old dervish smiled faintly and said, "I am right here, you can see for yourself what happens." Saying this, the caliph saluted the dervish and headed towards his palace. That night the caliph could not sleep. The thought kept coming to his mind that, at any cost, he would not let the dervish's prophecy come true. The next day, the caliph disguised himself and went again to Yunus's village. He asked around among the villagers. Finally, he arrived at Yunus's house. The caliph went to the front of the house and called out. Hearing the call, Yunus came outside. He asked, "Who are you and why have you come?" The caliph, who was now disguised as a merchant, replied, "I am a merchant from the neighboring city. I have my own textile business. I have heard that a fortunate child has been born in your house, and it is written in his fate that he will become the caliph." Yunus said, "You have heard correctly." The caliph said, "If you don't mind, may I say something?" Yunus replied, "Yes, please go ahead." The caliph said, "Give your child to me. In return, I will give you a great deal of money and wealth. I will also personally take care of your child's upbringing." Hearing this, Yunus's wife immediately said, "No, I will not give my child to you." The caliph said in a stern voice, "You are just an ordinary farmer. How will you raise your child? Will you be able to give him everything that is destined for him?" Yunus quietly listened to the caliph's words. Then he spoke slowly. "Yes, you are right. Maybe we won't be able to raise our child the way wealthy people do," Yunus said. Hearing Yunus, his wife spoke softly. "All right, I am willing to give you my child, but there is one condition. When he turns 16, you must return him to us." The caliph immediately replied, "Yes, that's fine." "When your child turns 16, I will return him to you," said the caliph. With that, he took the child in his arms and left. He went to the bank of a river with the child. In truth, the caliph intended to throw the child into the river so that he would die and the dervish's prophecy would never come true. But seeing the child's innocent face, his hands began to tremble. He could not bring himself to throw the child into the river. After much thought, the Caliph took a wooden chest, placed the child inside it, and set the chest afloat on the river. The Caliph thought that the chest would sink on its own once it reached the deep waters of the river. Believing that the child would die this way, he returned to the palace with peace of mind. He was convinced that the child would never return and that he would never marry his daughter. The Caliph thought, "At last I have erased what fate had written." Meanwhile, the chest floated along the river and got stuck on a bank where a fisherman was fishing. When the fisherman noticed the floating chest, he was astonished and said, "There's a little child inside this." He was amazed, especially because he himself had no children. He decided to take the child home. When the fisherman's wife saw the child, she was overjoyed. She asked her husband, "Whose child is this? Where did you bring him from?" The fisherman told her the whole story, how he was fishing by the riverbank and found the child inside a wooden chest floating on the river. Both of them joined their hands in prayer and thanked Allah for blessing them with such a precious child. Now that child began to grow up in the fisherman's house. The fisherman named him Haris. Time passed in this way, and Haris gradually grew up. 16 years went by, and now Haris had become a very intelligent, well-mannered and virtuous young man. One day, he was studying with his teacher. Whatever questions the teacher asked, Haris would immediately give the correct answer. Seeing this, the teacher was very impressed and said, "Haris, you are very intelligent and knowledgeable. You will become a great man in the future." The teacher was still praising Haris when, at that moment, the Caliph happened to be passing by on his way to another area for some urgent business. When the Caliph's eyes fell on Haris, he stopped there. He observed him attentively for a while. Then he asked, "Boy, who are you? Where do you live? What is your father's name?" Haris politely replied, "Sir, I am the son of a fisherman." Hearing this, the Caliph seemed a bit thoughtful, but without saying anything further, he moved on. Then he went straight to the fisherman's house. Upon arriving there, he said, "Your son is very intelligent and well-mannered." The fisherman replied humbly, "My lord, I am not his real father. I have only raised him, but he means more to me than a son." Hearing this, the Caliph was surprised and asked, "If this boy is not your son, then where did you find him?" The fisherman explained the whole story in detail, how he was fishing by the riverbank and found the child inside a wooden chest floating on the river. When the Caliph heard this story, his face turned red. He immediately realized that this was the very child he had set afloat on the river 16 years ago. The Caliph and the fisherman were still discussing the matter when Haris arrived. Seeing him, the Caliph secretly devised a plot. He said to the fisherman, "I have to attend to an urgent matter. If you have your son deliver a letter from me to my wife, I will give him 100 gold coins." Haris replied cheerfully, "Of course, why not? I will definitely deliver your letter." But the Caliph secretly wrote a confidential message in the letter and sealed it with his signet. Then, handing the letter to Haris, he said, "Here you go, boy. Make sure you deliver this message to my wife." Haris set off with the letter. As he walked, he reached such a dense forest that he felt he had lost his way. Searching for the path, night fell. He began looking for a place to spend the night. Suddenly, he noticed a hut. Haris thought, "Let me spend the night here. I'll continue the rest of the journey in the morning." He entered the hut. Inside, he saw an old woman cooking food on the stove. He went up to her and said, "I had come to the forest for some work, but now it's very late in the jungle." Haris, the old woman, felt pity after hearing about your troubles in the jungle. She said, "Son, what you say is true, but let me tell you something. This hut is actually a hideout for bandits, and I cook food here just for them. They never let anyone leave alive, especially if someone has anything valuable with them." Haris said, "Mother, I don't have anything like that. I only have this letter, which I must deliver to the Caliph's wife." Hearing this, the old woman was startled. She immediately realized that this was a serious matter. She took the letter from Haris and said, "May I see this letter?" Haris replied softly, "Yes, but the letter is sealed with the Caliph's seal, and it is only for the Caliph's wife." The old woman said, "Boy, danger is closing in on you right now." The bandits arrived there. They saw the boy and then began to read the letter lying in front of them. As soon as they read the letter, their faces showed surprise and anger, because in that letter, the Caliph had ordered his wife that the boy who delivers this letter to her should be killed immediately. "This is the boy who was supposed to marry our daughter. I have erased fate.
Now erase him as well." After reading this, the bandits looked at each other. One of them angrily said, "This caliph is truly cruel. He wants to kill an innocent boy just because he is destined to become caliph." The second bandit said, "We may be thieves, but we are not murderers. We will not have the blood of another innocent on our hands." The third bandit said, "This boy is truly lucky. Why shouldn't we help him?" All the bandits agreed that they would not harm Harris, but instead would save his life. The old woman pleaded with them to help the boy. The old mother said to the bandits, "If you are not truly evil at heart, then listen to me. This boy is innocent, kind-hearted, and blameless. Killing him would be a sin. Why don't we save his life instead? And let us foil the wishes of this cruel caliph." One of the bandits said, "Mother, you are absolutely right. We are thieves, but we will not stain our hands with the blood of an innocent person." The second bandit said, "Let's do this. Let's replace the secret letter ourselves and write a new letter in its place." The old woman said, "Yes, write such a letter in which it is written that whoever delivers this message to my son should immediately be married to the caliph's daughter. This is nature's justice." The bandits immediately wrote a new letter, which said, "This is the boy for whom Allah has destined our daughter." He wrote, "As soon as this message reaches you, preparations for the wedding should begin." The letter was sealed with the caliph's seal, just as the previous letter had been, so that no one would suspect anything. Since the letter bore the caliph's seal and the handwriting was the same, the caliph's wife did not think much of it. She thought, "If my husband himself has made this decision, there must be a reason. Perhaps this boy is someone special, destined for royalty." After a while, she ordered that preparations for the wedding be made immediately. Thus the palace attendants rushed about. The princess was prepared for the wedding, and Haris, who was simple-hearted and virtuous, had no idea what was written in the letter. He simply followed the palace's orders politely. In a short time, the wedding ceremony was held in the royal court, simple, yet with grandeur. Haris and the princess were married. Some time later, when the caliph returned to the palace, his daughter was not there. He became somewhat anxious and immediately ordered the letter to be brought. When he opened and read the letter, his eyes widened in astonishment. The letter read, "This boy is extremely intelligent, virtuous, and honorable. He should immediately be married to the princess and made a part of our family. I want this marriage to be completed before I return." Reading this, the color drained from the caliph's face. He was overwhelmed by a mix of anger, astonishment, and fear. He immediately ordered the guards,
"No one can erase what is written by fate. Now the time has come for you to accept Haris as your son-in-law and hand over your throne and crown to him." The caliph humbly said, "Darveshji, whatever you say will be done." Saying this, the Darvesh took his leave. Meanwhile, the caliph embraced Haris, apologized to him, and gave him all the powers of the kingdom. So, dear friends, from this story we learn that whatever is written in fate will happen. No king, no power, no conspiracy can change it. And whoever puts their trust in Allah, success will ultimately come to them.